is like relating to plants as though they were human beings, and that's getting really deep into farming, is when you start to actually study the physiology of plants and how they, you know, because they're living creatures, right? And speaking, you know, so anything that's living, it's consuming to stay alive, right? And therefore it's excreting, because there's always a waste product produced. And so what happens is, if you're growing a conventional eggplant like they do down there, the roots of that eggplant might be this far out because it's drug dependent. They're throwing drugs at the base of the plants, and so it's all right there. It doesn't have to do anything. And it's hurting. It's stressed. So it's going to get diseases. So they spray insecticides on it. They're spraying herbicides around it, right? And just like the papaya farmers and the conventional farmers, if you want to just clean your field of whatever crop you're growing, you stop fertilizing it, and it dies.
The mill run and the bagasse and the...
This has the mill run, the bagasse, and the Imo 2.
Yeah, and it's been here for a week at least.
But also, because I'm quite lucky and I have cows that I milk, I have whey from making my cottage cheese.
Right on.
So I'm going to put a little whey into this mixture. And this is going to go into the Imo 4. I'm also going to put it into the Imo 3. Alright, so this is going to go into the Imo 4. And also, I can show you later, I have these worm bins up on my garden. Real simple. It's something I got from watching this movie about Cuba, when the Russians pulled out. And the Cubans had to feed themselves, and they didn't have any chemicals. So they kind of went, the whole nation went organic. And what they found was the best thing that they could use was worm juice, because it's so easy to make worm juice. So this is my worm juice here. I'm going to add, this is going to be really rich.
So is that what comes from the bottom of your worm bin?
No, not from the bottom of the worm bin. What you do is, I have these troughs that we put all our kitchen waste in of grass and everything. And then you start off with the red worms that I get from my cow manure. And it's just like the worms eat through it, and the troughs are outside. And if it's not raining, we add water. If it's raining, we might cover it if it's raining. But it keeps dripping. It's like every day we get about this much worm juice from each trough. And this stuff is really, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, I have a worm bin with that's over a tub, and I get stuff that that looks just like that.
So if you're doing gardening, you know, the most important stage of your gardening is raising your seedlings. You want really healthy, vibrant seedlings. If you have healthy, vibrant seedlings and you put them in the ground and you got the IMOs, boom. But if you have seedlings that are stressed and weak and you put them in the ground, they might die. So they're going to take and they're going to put that right there. And then someone else is going to take, it's a nice thing, I should have sent me bites, I think this IMO. Wow, this is really a strong IMO here. I've never seen it quite like this.
What is this all in bagasse, John?
Huh?
Or is this all bagasse?
It's got a little bit of mill run in it.
A little bit.
The mill run is nice because it's really fine and it sets up a matrix for the IMOs to run around on, because the bagasse is kind of big. And I could use just pure bagasse, but I need to grind it up better. If it was ground up finer, I wouldn't need any mill run at all.
Really?
Right?
How old is this?
Huh?
How old is this?
Well, this is only less than a week old.
And this is soil?
That's compost.
Oh, that's compost.
That's 2-year-old compost, man. That is like kind. So I'm making usually when you make an IMO 4, you take the soil from your garden, put some soil. Now someone else get ready to put the IMOs. Just drop it real quick.
Just drop it.
Just drop it down. Hey, just drop it down. Just drop it down. And watch my face at the shovel. Go ahead, just drop it. Okay. Go ahead. IMO. Go ahead. IMO. Go ahead.
You go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll go over here and I'll give you the IMO.
Go ahead. Soil. Just keep putting it down there, you guys. Go ahead. This sooner we do it, when we get done, and throw it right on the top of the pile. Dirt. Dirt, go ahead. Get this thing done sooner than later. Okay, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to now have somebody put some moisture on it. Okay, now wait. Let me take one of these forks. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, just pour it in. Pour it like on the edge, around in a circle too. You follow me around, we'll go in a circle.
You're mixing concrete. Yeah.
Pour it kind of in the middle too, round and round.
So how much moisture do you like to put in there?
Huh?
About how wet do you like to make yours?
Okay, so we've done this. So what you'll see when we get done, we're shooting for 70% moisture content. And you know when you have 70%, when you can pick it up and squeeze it, and the water don't come out, but you open your hand and it's still in a ball. That's perfect. That's what we're looking for, 70%. All right, so now let's add some more of this stuff. So
No, you're good.
rice tends to have a more symbiotic relationship with IMOs. It actually makes them. There's some kind of something about the rice plant. It really is a pretty powerful plant. So isn't the sesame plant. And the taro. Almost every plant we live with on this planet is unique, as we are, you know. And we just got to realize that. Years ago, this guy came from California we're getting organically certified, right? It's about 9 o'clock at night, and he says, "So what do you do if you're noxious weeds?" I look at him and said, "What do you mean noxious?" Because noxious is kind of like a bad word, right? I said, I never met a noxious weed. He goes, "Well, you know what I mean." I says, "No, I don't." Because every weed that's on this planet has a unique purpose. You go bulldoze a piece of property over and over and over again. You leave a week later, it's covered. The earth.
Now what's the temperature you want the IMO to be at when it's ready, John?
Well, this feels pretty good.
John, what's the temperature when it's ready?
Well, you don't want it to get over 135. And you don't need a thermometer. If you make your piles and you put your hand to the bottom of the pile and it burns your hand, then you got to flip it. And you might have to flip it 2 or 3 times in a week. And then when it cools down, you can bag it up and use it. That's when it's done. But over 135, the beneficials will start dying off. But that's really hot. I mean, I put my hand in there and thought I was burning my hand, and it was only 120. 135, I mean, you put your hand in there and you're going to get burnt. 135 is hot. But sometimes it gets that hot, especially at the bottom of the pile.
So John, about how long does it usually take a pile this size?
Well, so you cover it because you don't want any sunlight hitting it. So, you know, they outlawed the use of methabromide finally in this state. And that's what all these commercial farmers relied on to kill everything. So now what they did down there, they get ready to plant, they plow, they rotivate, they rotivate, they rotivate, they rotivate. You know what rotivating means? They till it up every 5 days and expose it to the ultraviolet light. The ultraviolet light is deadly. It kills everything. So
they figure
that's why you got to keep it out of the sun.
They figure they're getting rid of the weeds, huh?
Huh?
They figure they're getting rid of the weeds or something?
Yeah, it kills everything. They just keep rotivating so nothing has a chance to take hold again. Eventually the weeds come up and then they start spraying herbicides.
Oh yeah.
But you know, because otherwise, like in the cane industry back in the old days, I was living in Wyohino about 30 years ago, near the cane fields, and they used to use atrazine. These two chemicals, they're pre-emergent. Heavy, huh?
Comex.
Well, there's another one, atrazine and something else, and they would spray with the plane over the plowed fields, so that nothing would come up for like a month to wait for the cane to come up. And my farm was in Wyohina Valley, up against the cane fields, and I saw this crop duster flying over. I didn't know what he was doing. 10 o'clock that morning, I got a sore throat, and I'm going, God, why do I got a sore throat? I went in the kitchen to make some ginger tea. An hour later, I ended up in bed, and I was way, way up in the valley. My nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. I was in bed for 2 weeks. I couldn't get out. I damn near died from getting sprayed with these poisons. And but there was not much I could do about it. I mean, because I didn't go to a doctor and get it documented. But shortly thereafter, this is during Ben Conatano was governor of the state. It's back in the 70s. And he had this hippie guy who was the state health guy. Had an organic, I met him here in Hilo, really cool guy. And he was the first time they tested every single well in the state of Hawaii. 90% of the wells were unfit to drink from. They were all off the charts with atrazine, ametrine, and this other chemical they used for spraying in the pineapple fields. So what they did was they upped the acceptable levels.
And then they quit testing.
Huh? And then they quit testing. That was the last time. The guy got fired, I think, over that.
Yeah, they quit testing everything. That's Hawaii's way. If we've got a problem, they just
so when I got
test.
sprayed by this plane, and I figured out what had damn near killed me, I called the EPA, and I found out that the EPA, they sleep in bed with the agricultural industry here, and they denied everything. But I forced them to take some samples because all the greenery, the trees, everything on my farm died. And they tested it, and it was like super high in ametrine and atrazine. But that was it. After that guy, they just like square by 4 feet deep. And if you look at this stuff is so precious, you know. This here probably has the surface area of a ping pong table. You know, when you break it up.
It's like we used to have Kiawe charcoal before.
Yep.
And it's like that.
Yep. So I got this hole, and the way you make charcoal is you get all your wood ready, and you start a little fire, and you start throwing your wood in. And you throw your wood in a circle so you have a hollow space in the middle. And it takes me about 4 hours to do that hole. And it's heavy, hot work. And you just keep feeding this fire, and it's roaring like a locomotive. It's roaring. You don't want no smoke.
What's the biggest piece you put in there?
Like that.
That big around?
Yeah.
How long? 4 foot?
About that, 3 foot, you know.
Those chunks behind here is what you use?
Yeah, up against the wall here. That's what I use on the other side of that wall. And when you get the hole totally full, it takes about 3 or 4 hours, and the flame is like 30 feet tall. And what that flame is, it's burning off the volatile gases inside the wood. If you have smoke, then it's turning it into ash. You don't want ash. And right when I get it to the top of the pile, I'll throw a whole bunch of little stuff on top of it to burn the big stuff that I just threw on. And then I have a big pile of dirt right there that I dug the hole with, and you just bury it in dirt. Boom! You just smother it in dirt, and you keep burying it in dirt so that there's no air can get in there. And that's how you get charcoal. It's really trippy.
After it's all completely burning, then you put your little stuff and then you bury it.
Yeah, then you bury it. And that's what you do. You cut the oxygen off so it cannot burn anymore. And then you get this charcoal. And this stuff, usually I'll put like...
Can you tell us a little bit about what the charcoal does and what the benefits of the charcoal?
The charcoal? Well, there's a lot of literature out about charcoal now. And like I say, it retains, especially if you're in a dry area, if you use a lot of charcoal in your farming, you're not going to have a problem with droughts because it's going to hold all the water that your plants are going to need, and it's going to feed it to them. But like I said, there's a problem with nitrogen and phosphorus when you put it out under your orchards or in your fields and you get a big rain, it's gone. If you have charcoal, the nitrogen and phosphorus goes right into the charcoal. It's like a bank. It holds nutrients inside of itself and it won't let it go away. The IMOs love living in here. This is like their casino. This is their Vegas here. They love living in charcoal. And then they distribute the riches that are in here. So, and they found that in areas where people have used charcoal over centuries, the soil, it just, you know, you can go 20 feet down. It's just this loomy, living organism. You know, it's pretty amazing. Now, you know, I'll tell you, in the last few years, I've talked to some professors from universities around here about IMOs and charcoal, and they go, well, there's no scientific data on it. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Just look around. You know, that's what we have to really look around and decide for ourselves what is viable and what isn't viable.
Have you ever, with the biochar, because I read about it a little bit and talked about soaking it in something before you use it? Do you do that?
Well, you know, that's why I put it in here. I put it in my IMO 4 piles and it gets inoculated.
Right.
But you can also spray it down with compost tea. You can take your worm juice and bubble it up, you know, or just take your worm juice and spray your worm juice on it. You put it in the soil, it's good, but then you can keep enhancing it, putting it in here, spraying it with compost tea, and then it becomes very activated. So, you know, that little bag there, I don't know, man. That's to me, that's invaluable. That is so much wealth right there. And what did it take? It took me a day's worth of digging a hole and burning wood. And that, I mean, that's I don't know how I could put a price on that when it comes to enriching my soil.
Yeah.
That I should start really thinking about putting in some acres of turmeric, because they just came from an AMA cancer conference in Houston, Texas. These are doctors, and they're finally starting to see the end of chemotherapy, and they're looking at turmeric because they found out that cancer is very smart, and what it does is every cell has a time when it's supposed to die, and the cancer cell tells them no, just keep living, just keep growing. There's another cell in your body that is supposed to go around and police the cells that aren't dying. They say, okay, it's time to die. Come on, get with it, you know? And the cancer cell puts those cells to sleep. But they found out that when you take turmeric, there's a chemical in the turmeric that wakes up those cells that the cancer cells put to sleep to go out there. I mean, it's pretty trippy. So it's like in farming and in medicine, I think some people are starting to get it. That it's really in the natural world, because we're natural creatures, you know. And if you live in a natural way and you treat things naturally, you're going to have a balance. But when you start using chemicals in the natural world is when the balance gets tipped, you know. So anyways, let's just keep. And so if you got an orchard and there's grass in the orchard, mow it. And then throw down your IMOs in the late afternoon or when it's misting out, and then rake up all the grass that you just mowed and throw it on top of the IMOs. Okay. They just need to be covered from the sun, just a little bit, right? And if it's a drought and you're putting down IMOs, then you want to water a little, because the IMOs, they get thirsty.
Do you have problems with fire ants or?
Huh?
With fire ants?
Fire ants.
Yeah. Do you have any problems with that, or like sometimes?
I don't have any fire ants here yet, you know. But
in the mulch.
What about the mulch from the dump?
I've never found any fire ants in the mulch. That's another thing. So luckily I get a lot of it, because a lot of people think there's fire ants. I've been getting mulch since the day they started doing that, man. It's been 7, 8 years, 9 years. I've never gotten any fire ants from the mulch.
You're lucky.
I think, you know, when you put it there and